Hey, Grow Squad, welcome to another episode of the Eugene Hamilton Podcast. Hope you're doing well. Hope that this week is treating you well. Hope that life is going as well as it can be. And listen, if it's not at this point going as well as you would like, hang in there. One of the things I've discovered along the way is that consistency. I think I heard one influencer say this: consistency is the only cheat code. We're always looking for shortcuts or a shorter route or a shorter way to get to our desired goal. But just stay consistent right wherever you are. And I promise you, as you move forward, things will eventually get better. But let's pray and let's get into it today real quick. God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for my friends who have tuned in. Thank you just for all that you do to let us know that we're loved, we appreciate it, and that you protect us. Bless us now as we have this conversation today. I pray that you would lead us and guide us. Open our hearts and minds. Amen. Today, I want to kind of extend on what I talked about last week. And I say extend because I had a lot of questions. People were emailing me or sending me direct messages along the lines of, how do I really truly reset? And I believe people walked away after listening to last week's episode believing that resetting during the midpoint of the year means going harder. And for those that are not familiar with that kind of terminology or that language or that vein of information, we understand sometimes that when we go harder, that means we lose more sleep. That means we find ourselves, staying up longer or doing more or double the work that we were doing before. And that doesn't always serve everybody well. Certainly there are seasons when we have to do more work than we did before. Certainly there are times when we've got to just double down and try to do what we can to reach certain deadlines and goals. And I get it. But part of our reset process, today we're going to talk a little bit about discovering your true self through the reset process. Because sometimes resetting does not mean going harder. Sometimes reset means, for you and or for me at times, pressing the pause button. I recently, don't laugh at me, but I recently started taking golf lessons. Now, there are several things that are apparently, right, challenging for me. One being mobility. And I'm not talking about you got to run or you got to lift heavy weights during the game of golf, but you have to use your entire body to get your swing right. And one of the things that happened for me, I spent a lot of time in the golf simulator, and people were laughing at me. Oh man, you haven't played golf yet. You in a little cubicle hitting the ball against the wall. That's not a real game of golf. So I took it upon myself to find one of my good buddies who I knew would not be judgmental. You got to have those kind of people in your life sometimes. I found somebody who I knew would not judge me, and I said, bro, let's go play golf. He said, 9 holes, 18 holes. Let's do the whole shebang. Let's do 18 holes, brother. Now, of course, I'm biting off more than I can chew because, once again, my only reference with golf at that point was the golf simulator and Top Golf. Right? So just fun, hitting the balls, playing the little games. In fact, my wife invited me. She went on a work outing, and they played a game called Angry Bird with Top Golf. I got to do it in a minute. But anyway, that's not why I'm here. So I went out on the course, and we're hitting the balls, or we're teeing off, I should say. And after we finished, both of us had hit the ball. I said, oh, let's go. He said, oh, no. Before you hit at the next hole, you got to make sure the people ahead of you are out of the way. In other words, we aren't the only ones on this golf course. So as much as you're eager to get to hole number 2, brother, take a deep breath. Slow down. I said, man, so we got to hole number 2, right? Getting ready to tee off. He said, hold on, don't you see? I said, man, I'm not paying attention to them. He said, well, you need to. Right? And as we began to take our time and kind of let the game come to us. Now, keep in mind, this is out of my league. It's out of my normal routine. I'm not used to spending 3-4 hours out hitting the ball on a golf course. I'm used to my 45-minute sessions, 50-minute sessions with the coach, and I'm out. But as I'm out there and I'm hearing the birds chirping, as I'm out there and I see people, check this out, but I don't hear people. They're out there. There's a lake to my left, right? There are beautiful trees. I guess I'm saying that right, down the fairway. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah. I'm saying to myself, wow, this game of golf, and I'm not sure how far I'll take it. I'm not sure if I'll get real serious about it. I'm not sure that I'll be a one that starts paying attention to my handicap and all these numbers. This stuff is still, it's like speaking another language for me at this point. I don't know what that stuff is right now. But what I do know that as I was on that course, having to take my time, having to do what I am constantly telling my 4-year-old to do, have patience. I said to myself, wow, this is an awesome reset in the middle of the week, because I've been burning the candle on both ends, trying to make stuff happen that's not happening for me. And sometimes when things aren't happening for you the way you think they should happen, sometimes when the work you're putting in, you're saying, wow, I'm not getting out what I've been putting in. Sometimes doing more work is not the answer. Sometimes, like the game of golf, you got to be patient. You got to slow down and enjoy the ride. Enjoy the scenery. Enjoy that which is around you. Enjoy sometimes seeing people but not hearing people. Sometimes a reset requires solitude, stillness, and peace. When was the last time you appreciated peace? As I mention all the time, if you're a regular listener to the Eugene Hamilton podcast, in fact, if you have not subscribed, if you have not really engaged in community with us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please. Yeah. Let us know who you are, that you're along for the journey as we go, as we grow, and as we glow. But along the way, you'll discover this. I'm oftentimes calling other people to reset and enjoy peace. And there are days, right now we are, my son's in school still, right? I mean, he'll be in school for a while, but we've gotten some cases of sickness from other kids, and we're hearing about this and that. We've upped his dose of vitamin C, right? So one of the things that my wife, the other day, she was giving him a little pill of vitamin C. She says, you should take some too. And then she said, you know what? I should take some too. In other words, we should take, excuse me, I had a little cold. We should take some of our own medicine sometimes. We're telling our son to take this. We're giving our son what's good for him. But have we sometimes discovered that what's good for him is also good for us? See, if you're a leader, right? If you're someone who's in charge, if you're someone that's leading other people, sometimes you find yourself looking out for their well-being, but you don't look out for yourself. If you're a parent, if you're a leader of a household, you're always looking out for the best interest of those that are under your influence. But I want to challenge you today during your reset mid-year. Have you ever considered the reality that what's good for them is also good for you? Have you ever considered that the advice that you're giving them is advice that is good for your own soul? So here's what I've discovered. Because oftentimes we find ourselves being great advice givers. But many times people who are great advice givers are horrible advice takers. We've seen people who I've seen people who are out of shape, who have the greatest advice on how people can get in shape. And I said to myself, wow, you got some grand ideas. Again, I said it to myself, not to them. And I often process, I said, man, you got some grand ideas, but I don't see you taking your own advice. What's something's missing here? I'm not saying that you're not qualified to give advice, right? If you feel led to give me that kind of advice or give others advice that you're not taking, that's cool. But you might do yourself a great deal of service if you take your own advice. Have you ever seen people give relationship advice, but they have difficulty applying it to their own relationships? And here's the funny part. And you'll agree with me. In fact, if you're on YouTube watching this, in the chat, let me know if this has ever been your experience, or if you agree with what I'm saying. I've seen people give great relationship advice, and every single one of their relationships they've sabotaged. They have great counsel. They've learned things. Hear me out. This is the funny part. They've learned things from their relationships that they haven't applied, but they're great at giving it away to you. The same thing happens with peace. The same thing happens with reset. The same thing happens when you get to the middle of the year and you're wanting to throw in the towel, but hear me out. It's not time to throw in the towel. It's time for a reset. And sometimes that reset includes taking time each week to enjoy some peace. 3 ways you can do that. And I want to encourage you to take full advantage of the opportunity to walk this thing out with a great deal of seriousness. I'm inviting you, I encourage you to take time every single day just to simply meditate. Close your eyes with no agenda. Reflect, be grateful. Just meditate. Meditate on your peace. Meditate on what it's going to take for you to really enjoy this moment of peace. Listen, sometimes when I feel brave enough, I get into the infrared sauna. And man, there was those moments of quiet, sweat pouring down my face. I'll close my eyes and sometimes there's nothing on my mind. I will absolutely, positively, purposefully, or on purpose, I should say, think about nothing. It was funny because if you're watching this in real time, if you're not on the replay, that's cool. But my son has been listening to this soundtrack from Daniel Tiger, something like that. I don't maybe you know, but he's always finding something unique. Daniel Tiger. And he has this one song Daniel Tiger does about when he gets mad, he counts to 4, right? So he takes a deep breath and he and he begins to count. So the other day, this morning, my son was trying to he had this little toy and he was trying to press the button, and the toy has this little latch where it shoots the ball through this little hole, and he kept missing it. And he kept saying to me, "Daddy, it's okay. I'll try it again." And I could tell, even though he was saying that, he was actually getting frustrated. Right? I didn't say anything, though. I'm saying, okay, go ahead, try again. He pressed the button, he'd miss, and he would repeat the same thing. "Daddy, it's okay. I'll try again." About the 5th or 6th time, I know that he's fed up. He's like to himself. He closes his eyes. He stands up and he starts breathing in and he starts breathing out. I'm like, where are you getting this from? Look at my wife, and she just smiles. She's like, "Oh, you got it from that song." He's breathing in. He said, "Daddy, can you do it with me?" And so he lifts his hands up and he says, 1, 2, 3, 4. And he exhales and he tries the ball again and he made it. And I said, wow. Interesting what a child can teach adults who are always running, who are always in a rush, who are always mad at ourselves, who don't take the time to process what we're doing, to take a deep breath, as Daniel Tiger says, right? Count to 4 and try again. Sometimes meditating gives us a fresh start. I'm talking about you're upset about whatever, a business deal, upset about a relationship, upset about some kind of interaction, upset about something at work, something you can't control, upset about family challenges, whatever it is. Sometimes to get that peace back. Now, check this out, because there's this saying, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what it talks about, what it says, I should say. But the gist of it is, when you've got God in your life, you've got peace. And peace is not the absence of problems, but peace is accepting that God is with you through your problems. Oh, yeah. I'll say it again. Peace is not the absence of problems. So just because I'm inviting peace in, just because I'm tapping into my peace, doesn't mean that my problems will disappear. It doesn't mean that my relationships will all of a sudden overnight they'll heal. Doesn't mean that I have wounds that will all of a sudden go away because I'm inviting peace in. No, peace is saying, you know what, through the storm, I'm not going to get rattled. Through this season where things are rough at work, I'm not going to lose my way. Through this season or during this season where things maybe aren't right in your relationships, or you're having parenting challenges, or issues with a neighbor, issues with your landlord, issues, whatever the case might be, inviting peace in does not mean that these challenges will all of a sudden go poof, evaporate, and disappear. Sometimes, don't miss this, as we're inviting peace in, our problems or our challenges are sometimes magnified. And that's not a bad thing. Because sometimes when we don't have the peace that we need, we can't see the full picture of what we're up against. But sometimes when we take a deep breath and stand back, I was about to say like Daniel Tiger and count to 4, but when we take a deep breath and really size up what's in our way or what we are challenged with, that gives us the opportunity to do step 2, and that is to learn how to journal and figure out a path as to how we're going to climb that mountain. And sometimes when we're inviting peace in, that's an opportunity for us to step back and get a complete picture of what's in front of us. So that after we meditate, I should say, the second step to inviting peace in to your life and resetting is learning how to write down your thoughts, journal. Get whatever is inside, get it outside. Sometimes your journaling can create a pathway for you in terms of steps as to how I'm going to navigate what I'm up against. Then lastly, I'm going to invite you to do this. If you really, really want to invite peace into your life, I'm going to invite you, encourage you to get away from the noise sometimes of your neighborhood, of your house, of your job. Go out in nature. Now, it's funny because there are large cities that some of us live in. I live in the LA metro area. And it's interesting how sometimes people think, I got to drive an hour and a half out of the city to find nature or to find some kind of trail. But don't you know, I've been right in my city and I've stumbled upon an area that has a running creek or an area that has trees and a little hill or mountain. I'm like, man, I can enjoy nature right here. It's far enough away from the hustle and bustle. I don't have to get in my car and fight traffic and drive out. I can enjoy it wherever it is for you. sometimes stepping back and watching how the squirrels navigate challenges. Sometimes stepping back and watching even how ants who are trying to pick up a big piece of bread. I've watched this myself, man. My son is fascinated by nature. So, of course, being an older parent, right? And I'm not saying I'm old. I'm saying just the age difference between myself and my son is pretty vast. And so sometimes I got to just sit down and take some lessons from him. And the other day, we jumped out the car and he was so just like, Daddy, there's a black ant. This one is not one that could hurt you. It's not red. He began to talk about all this stuff that he learned, I don't know, through some kind of educational programming or from his teacher. And he said, watch it, Daddy. I'm watching this ant try to carry a piece of bread, and it's too big, right? I watched how another ant showed up and they kind of carried it together, right? And I'm saying to myself, wow, we can learn a lot from nature. In other words, some stuff that you are trying to carry right now, the reason why it's difficult for you to have the peace that you need is because you're trying to carry it by yourself. You're trying to carry it without help. There are human beings that God put in your path sometimes to help you carry stuff. And there are other times where just you and God can carry it. Ask for discernment so that you know the difference between the two, that you can govern yourself accordingly. So I hope that as you've listened to this episode, that you've taken away some nuggets that will help you get the reset and the peace that you need to go after your goals with the renewed kind of energy, renewed kind of mindset, and renewed effort that is refreshed, that is refueled, and that is ready to tackle the second half of this year. Send this episode to somebody who is struggling, somebody who may could use a little pep in their step, somebody who may need some peace in their life. I know that it's difficult sometimes to communicate with people, but sometimes they'll hear another voice and they'll get what they need to move forward. So help somebody else go, grow, and glow. And I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Peace.